Okay, so are you guys ready?
That was? I saw her. I didn't know that's what she
That was her. Alright, so we're on page 62. You guys are going to follow along. What's going to happen is I'm going to read all, and maybe call on somebody to read also. We're going to read all the way through chapter 5, and then the rest of the block, you guys are going to be doing your study guide for the sections that are marked chapters 1 and 2, and also chapters 3 to 5.
Oh.
4 paragraphs.
What page are we on?
62.
This is so much easier than writing an essay. You guys read the essay, and I have to revise it.
No, I'm just saying, like, you can just write, like, summary.
Because it shows that you listen. And it hits all the standards that to cover with you. Okay? So sit back, follow along, close your eyes, whatever you want to do.
Don't bet, don't fall asleep.
Don't fall asleep, and you're not on your cell phones. The
Okay,
reading won't take too long today, and then Mrs. Salvino and I will go around and help you guys with answers. We will not do questions for you. We're trying to show you where to find it, but we won't answer them for you.
What do you mean it
Hunter.
These chapters
are
stupid.
Well,
I didn't
we're on page 62.
out here right now. But they were
Chapter 6.
So it's like
yeah.
Aren't we on chapter 5?
No, the same song you were playing last time?
Big.
Is everyone on page 62, or do we stop somewhere else? Okay. All right, ready?
What page are we on?
You're better with
70?
one second. Take these out.
And you're on page 60. Oh, my God.
No.
You said it like 8 times, homie. But homie, that's halfway through the freaking chapter.
Oh, that's a good thing. You want to start a whole new chapter?
We got halfway through it last time.
What page? 60. Obviously.
All right, what page are we on? I think I said it about
62.
62.
62.
62.
Holy crap. You guys suck at it. For real.
We're going to stay still in our chairs today, right?
I will try.
All right, so Clary was tall and solid with big hands and knobbly knuckles. Did we already read about her?
No.
We'll
Kind of guess.
but we're not.
Okay,
Oh.
She described him as a
oh,
man.
wait, I'm sorry.
What?
Okay. I hope you'll come again, said Clary. You can come whenever. You can come anytime, he said. Thank you, and turned to go. But just outside the greenhouse door, she heard running footsteps and a strange, high sobbing sound. Or rather, she heard sobs and then a wail, sobs and then a shout, and then more sobs, getting louder. She looked back toward the rear of the greenhouses, toward the trash heaps. Clary, she called. There's something. Clary came out and listened too. Do you hear it? Yes, said Clary. She frowned. I'm afraid it's someone who... She peered toward the crying noise. Yes, here he comes. Her strong hand gripped Lena's shoulder for a moment. You'd better go, she said. I'll take care of this. But what is it? Never mind, just go on. But Lena wanted to see. Once Clary had walked away, she ducked behind the tool shed. There she watched. Noise came closer. Out beyond the trash heaps, a figure appeared. It was a man, running and stumbling, his arms flopping. He looked as if he was about to fall over, as if he could hardly pick up his feet. In fact, as he came closer, he did fall. He tripped over a hose and crumpled to the ground as if his bones had dissolved. Something's wrong with him.
He drunk.
Could be. Clary stooped down and said something to him in a distracted. Clary stooped down and said something to him in a voice too low for Lena to hear. The man was panting. When he turned over and sat up, Lena saw that his face was scratched and his eyes wide open in fright. His sobs had turned into hiccups. She recognized him. It was Sage Brown, one of the clerks at the supply depot. He was a quiet, long-faced man who always looked worried. Clary helped him to his feet. The two of them came slowly toward the greenhouse, and as they got closer, Lena could hear what the man was saying. He spoke very fast in a weak, trembly voice, hardly stopping for breath. But sure, I could do it. I said to myself, just one step after another, that's all. One step after another. I knew it would be dark. Who doesn't know that? But I thought, well, dark can't hurt me. I'll just keep going, I thought. He stumbled and sagged against Clary. Careful, Clary said. They reached the door of the greenhouse, and Clary struggled to open it. Without thinking, Lena darted out from behind the tool shed and opened it for her. Clary shot her a quick frown but said nothing. Sag didn't stop talking, but then the farther I went, the darker it was. And you can't just keep walking to black dark, can you? It's like a wall in front of you. I kept turning around to look at the lights of the city because that's all there was to see. And then I'd say to myself, don't look back, keep moving. But I kept tripping and falling. The ground is rough out there. I scraped my hands. He held up one hand and stared at the red scratches on it, which oozed drops of blood.
Oh,
What do you think he's doing now?
yes.
Scratching his face.
Not scratches.
He's on meth, that's what it is.
No, he's on acid.
No, he's scratching his face and his big eyes. No, he's on meth.
Anything to do with drugs. I think he's trying to escape the city.
He's on meth. Trying to escape the city.
Well, hey, drugs will make you escape from it.
Yeah. Not a city, though.
No. I was still escape. Shut up, bro.
They got him into Clary's office and sat him down in her chair. He rambled on. Be brave, I said to myself. I kept going and going, but then all of a sudden I thought anything could be out here. There could be a pit a thousand feet deep right in front of me. There could be something that bites. I've heard stories, rats as big as garbage bins. And I had to get out of there. So I turned around and I ran. Never mind, said Clary. You're all right now. Lena, get him some water. Lena found a cup and filled it from the sink in the corner. Sag took it with a shaking hand and drank it down. What were you looking for? Lena asked. She knew what she would have been looking for if she had gone out there. She thought about it countless times. Sag stared at her. He seemed to have a puzzle over her question. Finally, he said, I was looking for something that could help us. What would it be? I don't know. Like a stairway that leads somewhere, maybe, or a building full of, I don't know, useful things. But you didn't find anything or see it? Lena asked, disappointed.
What are you kissing your
It's
finger
like-
all over there?
Oh,
Do we need to like leave
there's like a gap in it so you can't see your finger half of the time, but half of the time you can see your finger. It's like really.
Oh, I thought you wanted us to leave the room so you could have some. They make hotel rooms for a reason.
Nothing. There's nothing out there. His voice became a shout and his eyes looked wild again. For if there is, you can never get to it. Never. Not without a light. He took a long, shaky breath. For a while, he stared at the floor. Then he stood up. I think I'm all right now. I'll be going. With uncertain steps, he went down the path and out the door. Well, said Clary, I'm sorry that happened while you were here. I was afraid you might be scared. That's why I told you to go. But Lena was full of questions, not fear. She had heard tales of people who tried to go out into the unknown regions. She had thought about it herself. In fact, she wondered the same thing as Sage. She had imagined making her way out into the dark and coming to a wall in which she could find the door to a tunnel. And at the end of the tunnel would be the other city, the city of light that she had dreamed about. All it would take was the courage to walk away from Ember and into the darkness, and then to keep going. It might have been possible if you could carry a light to show the way, but in Ember, there was no such thing as a light you could carry with you. Outside lights were fixed to their poles, or to the roofs of houses. Inside lights were set into the ceiling or had cords that had plugged in. Over the course of Ember's history, various clever people had tried to invent movable lights, but all of them had failed. One man had managed to ignite the end of a single cord by holding it against the electric burner on his stove. He'd run across the city with a flaming stick, planning to use it to light his journey. But by the time he got to the trash heaps, his torch had gone out. Other people latched onto his idea. One woman who lived on Deadlock Street, very near the edge of the city, managed to get into the unknown regions with her flaming stick. But the stick burned quickly, and before she could go far, the flames singed her hands and she threw it down. Everyone who had tried to penetrate the unknown regions had come back within a few hours, their enterprise a failure. So guys,
I didn't do anything. Here we go again.
Here
Seriously,
we
guys?
go again.
I didn't do anything.
let's be mature about the words.
I didn't
Oh no, we were
say
laughing
anything.
at the words. We were laughing at him dancing with this bottle.
No, I'm bored. I'm bored. I was going like this.
Or
We're just dancing.
why
with
don't
the
you
ball.
pick up the reading, Jack? Go ahead.
Whoa!
Alright, watch out. Next.
What page are we on?
66.
Okay, that's the page I'm on. That's the page I'm on. At the top of it?
Tina and Clary.
Yes. Right.
Like,
It's the second paragraph, basically.
Lena and Carrie stood by the open door of the house and watched what Sag shuffled towards the city. As he neared the trash heaps, two guards who had been sitting on the ground got to their feet. They walked over to Sag, and each of them took hold of his arms. Oh my goodness. Uh-oh, said Clary. Those guards are always looking for trouble, but Sag hadn't broken any laws. So
See, wasn't that fun?
yeah, that was a blast.
Okay. Doesn't matter. They need something to do. They'll get some fun out of scaring him. One of the guards was shaking his finger at Sag and saying something in a voice almost loud enough for Lena to hear. Poor man, said Claire with a sigh. He's the fourth one this year. The guards were marching Sag away now, one on either side of him. Sag looked lit and small. What do you think is out in the unknown regions, Clary? Clary stared down at the ground where the light from the greenhouse was casting long, thin shadows of them both. I don't know. Nothing, I guess. And do you think Ember is the only light in the dark world? Clary sighed. I don't know, she said. She gave Lena a long look. Her eyes, Lena thought, looked a little sad. They were a deep brown, almost the color of the earth in the garden bed. Clary put a hand in her pocket and drew something out. Look, she said. In the palm of her hand was a white pea. Something in this seed knows how to make a pea plant. How does it know that? I don't know, said Lena, staring at the hard, flat pea. It knows because it has life in it, said Clary. But where does life come from? What is life? Mason. Chapter 68.
Or do I gotta read a sentence?
No, gotta read the whole paragraph.
2 sentences.
2 sentences, I can do that. You're not. You can see that birds were.
Well, tears started.
Okay, she just say cry.
Because they were welling up, they were just forming.
Welling up in Claire now. Her eyes were bright, her cheeks were rosy.
Thank you, Mason. That was glass, wasn't it?
That a boy.
Take a lamp, for instance. When you plug it in, it comes alive in a way. It lights up. That's because it's connected to a wire that's connected to the generator, which is making electricity. Though don't ask me how. But a bean seed isn't connected to anything. Neither are people. We don't have plugs and wires that connect us to generators. What makes living things go is inside them somehow. Her dark eyebrows drew together over her eyes. What I mean is, she said finally, something is going on that we don't understand. They say the builders made the city, but who made the builders? Who made us? I think the answer must be somewhere In the unknown regions? Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. She brushed her hands together in a time to get back to work way. Clary, said Lena, here's what I think. Her heart sped up. She hadn't told this to anyone before. In my mind, I see another city. Lena watched to see if Clary was going to laugh at her or smile in that overly kind way. She didn't, so Lena went on. It isn't like Ember, it's white and gleaming. Buildings are tall and sort of sparkle. Everything is bright, not just inside the buildings, but all around them, too, even up in the sky. I know it's just my imagination, but it feels real. I think it is real. Clary said, and then she said, where would such a city be? That's what I don't know, or how to get to it. I keep thinking there's a door somewhere, maybe out in the unknown regions, a door that leads out of Ember, and then behind the door a road. Clary just shrugged her shoulders. I don't know, she said. I have to get back to work. But here, take this. She handed Lena the bean seed, took a little pot from the shelf, scooped some dirt into it, and handed the pot to Lena too. Stick the bean in here and water it every day, she said. It looks like nothing, like a little white stone, but inside it there's life. That must be a sort of clue, don't you think? If we could just figure it out. Lena took the seed and the pot. Thank you, she said. She wanted to give Clary a hug, but didn't in case it would embarrass her. Instead, she just said goodbye and raced back toward the city. Okay, last chapter before we
What if they're like
No, you said read to chapter 5.
through chapter 5.
Oh my god.
what if they are
Shut up,
like
Jake. I don't want
what if they're like in the generator for the big city?
You
That's
wanna
what's powering the
hear?
big city.
I'm sorry, what was that? They're distracted me. They're very loud.
What if they're like in the generator for the big city? That's what's powering the big city.
The generator's carrying this big city.
Yeah, but they are the generators. Of the big
Oh,
city.
maybe they are. Possibly. Okay,
God bless it.
we have to read
I
chapter.
quit.
We have to read chapter 5 because your chapter questions are chapters 1 and 2, and then the second one is chapters 3, 4, and 5.
I agree, Jack.
Would you guys want to read something else? I could break out a nice pen.
No, he's just beating his head off the wall.
I am not.
You guys are going to be in for a little bit. Let's not relax.
Especially against
Or if you
What?
have,
I think you're gonna make us all.
we're not talking about COVID shots. We're talking about English
I ain't
last
doing
year.
it.
If you happen to pass, some of you won't. Okay, chapter 5. Granny's mind was getting more and more muddled. Nina would come home in the evenings and find her rifling through the kitchen cupboards, surrounded by cans and jars with their lids off, or tearing the covers off her bed and trying to lift up the mattress with her skinny arms. It was an important thing, she would say, the thing that was lost. But if you don't know what it is, said Lena, how will you know when you found it? Granny didn't try to answer this question. She just clapped her hands at Lena and said, never mind, never mind, never mind, and kept on searching. These days, Mrs. Murdew spent a great deal of time sitting by their window rather than her own. She would tell Granny she was just coming to keep her company. I don't want her to keep me company, Granny complained to Lena. And Lena said, maybe she's lonely, Granny, let her come. Lena rather liked having Mrs. Murdew around. It was a bit like having a mother there. She wasn't anything like Lena's own mother, who had been a dreamy, absent-minded sort of person. Mrs. Murdew was mother-like in quite a different way. She made sure they all ate a good breakfast in the morning, usually potatoes with mushroom gravy and beet tea. She lined up the vitamin pills by each person's plate and made sure they were all swallowed. When Mrs. Bordeaux was there, shoes got picked up and put away, spills were wiped off the furniture, and Poppy always had on clothes. Nina could relax when Mrs. Bordeaux was around. She knew things were taken care of. Every week, Lena, like all workers between age 12 and age 15, had Thursday off. One Thursday, as she was standing in line at the Garden Square Market, hoping to get a bag of turnips for stew that night, she overheard a startling conversation between two people standing behind her. What I wanted, said one voice, was some paint for my front door. It hasn't been painted for years. It's gray and peeling. It's horrible. I heard a store over on Night Street had some. I was hoping. Oh, it would be nice, said the other talks continued. The man said he had no paint, never had. Disagreeable man, all he had were a few colored pencils. Colored pencils? Nina had not seen colored pencils in any store for ages. Once she had two red ones, a blue one and a brown one. She'd used these for a drawing until they were stubs too small to hold. Now she only had one plain pencil left, and it was rapidly growing shorter. She longed to have colored pencils for her pictures of the imaginary city. She had a feeling it was a colorful place, though she didn't know what its colors might be. There were other things, of course, on which her money would be better spent. Granny's only coat was full of holes and coming apart at the seams, but Granny rarely went out, she told herself. She was either at home or in her yarn shop. She didn't really need a new coat, did she? Besides, how much could a few pencils cost? She could probably get a coat for Granny and some pencils. So that afternoon, she set out for Night Street. She took Poppy with her. Poppy had learned how to ride piggyback. She wrapped her legs around Nina's waist and gripped Nina's throat with her small, strong fingers. On Ludlow Street, people were standing in long lines with their bundles of laundry at the washing stations. Ready to do it again?
Hey. What? You're reading. I like dictionary. You're reading.
Well, I'm watching tape. He's flipping the pages when I flip, so I know he's following along.
Yeah, buddy. I'm just listening. What page are we on? 7.
Like that. On Ludlow Street, people were standing in long lines with their bundles of laundry at the washing stations. The washers stirred the clothes in the washing machines with long poles. In days past, the machines themselves had whirled the clothes around, but not one of them worked anymore. Lena turned up Hafter Street, where the 4 street lamps were still out and a filling crew was repairing a partly collapsed roof. Orly Gordon called out to her from high on a ladder, and Lena looked up and waved. Farther on, she passed a woman with bits of rope and string for sale, and a man pulling a car full of carrots and beets to the grocery stores. At the corner, a cluster of little children played catch with a rag ball. The streets were alive with people today, moving fast. Lena threaded her way among them. But as she went into Otterville Street, she saw something that made her slow down. A man was standing on the steps of the gathering hall, shouting and howling, and a group of people had gathered around him. Lena went closer. When she saw who it was, her insides gave a lurch. It was Sage Merrill. His arms flailing wildly, his eyes were stretched wide open. In a high, rapid voice, he wailed out a stream of words. "I've been to the unknown regions," he cried. "There is nothing there. Do you think something out there might save us? Ha! There's only darkness and monsters, darkness and terrible deep holes, darkness forever. The rats are the size of houses, the rocks are sharp as knives. Darkness sucks your breath out. No hope for us out there. Oh no, no hope, no hope." He went on like this for a few minutes and then crumpled to the ground. People watching him looked at each other and shook their heads. "Gone mad," Lena heard someone say. "Yes, completely," said someone. Suddenly, Sage sprang up again and resumed his terrible shouting. The crowd stepped back. Some of them hurried away. A few of them approached Sage, speaking in calming voices. They took him by the arms and led him, still shouting, down the steps. Who dat? Said Poppy in her small, piercing voice. Nina turned from the miserable spectacle. "Hush, Poppy," she said. "It's a poor, sad man. He doesn't feel good. Mustn't stare." She headed toward Night Street, which ran along Green Gate Square. There was a stringy-haired man. There, a stringy-haired man sat cross-legged on the ground, playing a flute made out of a drain pipe, and 5 or 6 believers circled him, clapping and singing. Soon, coming soon," they sang. "What's coming soon?" She wondered. But she didn't stop to ask. 2 blocks beyond, she came to a store that had no sign in its window. This must be the one, she thought. At first it looked closed. Its window was dark. The door opened when she pushed on it, and a bell attached to its doorknob clanked. The bathroom came a black-haired man with big teeth and a long neck. "Yes," he said. the one who'd given her the message for the mayor on her very first day of work. His name was Hooper. No, Looper, that was it. Do you have pencils for sale? She asked. It seemed doubtful. The shop shelves were empty except for a few stacks of newspaper. Poppy squirmed on Lena's back and whimpered a little. Sometimes, said Looper. Poppy's whimper became a wail. All right, you can get down, Lena said to her. She set her on the floor where she tottered about unsteadily. What I'd like to see, said Lena, are your colored pencils if you have any. We have a few, said Looper. They are somewhat expensive, he smiled, showing his pushy teeth. Could I see them, said Lena? He went into the back room and returned a moment later, carrying a small box which he set down on the counter. He took the lid off. Lena bent forward to look. Inside the box were at least a dozen colored pencils. Red, green, blue, yellow, purple, orange. They had never even been sharpened. Their ends were flat. They had erasers. Lena's heart gave a fast beat.
$17.
How much are they? She said. Probably too much for you, Lena said. Probably not, said Lena. I have a job. Good, good, said the man, smiling again. No need to take offense. He picked up the yellow pencil and twirled it between his fingers. Each pencil, he said, $5. $5? For 7 you could buy a coat. It would be an old patched coat, but still warm. That's too much, Lena said. He shrugged and began to put the lid back on the box. But maybe. Lena's thoughts raced. Let me look at them again. Once more the man lifted the lid and Lena bent over the pencils. She picked one up. It was painted a deep clear blue. Yes. And on its flat top was the quick dot of the lead. Pink eraser was held on by a shiny metal collar. So beautiful. I could buy just one, Lena thought. Then I could save a little more and buy a coat for any next one. Make up your mind, said the man. I have other customers who are interested if you aren't. All right, I'll take one. No, wait. It was like hunger when she felt. It was the same as when her hand sometimes seemed to reach out by itself to grab a piece of it. It was too strong to resist. I'll take 2, she said, and a faint, dazzling feeling came over her at the thought of what she was doing. Which 2, the man said. There were more colors in that box of pencils than in all of Ember. Ember's colors were all so much the same. Gray buildings, gray streets, black sky, even the colors of people's clothes were faded from long use into mud green and rust red and gray blue. But these colors, they were as bright as the leaves and flowers in the greenhouse. Nina's hand hovered over the pencils. The blue one, she said, and yellow one. No, the man made an impatient noise at the back of the throat. The green one, said Nina. I'll take the blue and the green. She lifted them out of the box. She took the money from the pocket of her coat and handed it to the man, and she put the pencils in her pocket. They were hers now. She felt a fierce, defiant joy. She turned to go, and that was when she saw that the baby was no longer in the store. Poppy! She cried. She rolled around. Did you see my little sister go out? She asked the man. Did you see which way she went? He shrugged. Didn't notice, he said. Lena darted into the street and looked in both directions. She saw lots of people, some children, but no Poppy. She stopped an old woman. Have you seen a little girl, a baby, walking by herself? In a green jacket with a hood? The old woman just stared at her with dull eyes and shook her head. Poppy, Lena called. Poppy! Her voice rose to a shout. Such a little baby couldn't have gone far, she thought. Maybe down toward Green Gate Square, where there were more people walking around. She began to run. And then the lights flickered and flickered again and went out. Darkness slammed up in front of her like a wall. She stumbled, caught herself, and stood still. She could see absolutely nothing. Shouts of alarm came from up and down the street, and then silence. Lena stretched her arms out. Was she facing the street or a building? Terror swept through her. I must just stand still, she thought. The lights would come on again in a few seconds. They always do. But she thought of Poppy alone in the blackness and her legs went weak. I must find her. She took a step. When she didn't bump into anything, she took another step, and the fingers of her right hand crumpled against something hard. The wall of a building, she thought. Keeping her hand against it, she turned left a little and took another step forward. Then suddenly her hand touched empty air. This would be Deadlock Street. Or had she passed Deadlock Street already? She couldn't keep the picture of the streets clear in her mind. The darkness seemed to fill not just the city around her, but the inside of her head as well. Heart pounding, she waited. Come back, Lights, she pleaded. Please come back. She wanted to call out to Poppy to tell her to stand still and not to be afraid. She would come for her soon. But the darkness pressed against her, and she couldn't summon her voice. She could hardly breathe. She wanted to claw the darkness away from her eyes, as if it were someone's hands. Small sounds came from here and there around her, a whimpering, a shuffling. In the distance, someone called out incoherently. How many minutes had gone by? The longest blackout ever had been 3 minutes and 14 seconds. Surely this was longer. She could have endured it if she'd been on her own. It was the thought of Poppy lost that she couldn't stand. And lost because she'd been paying more attention to a box of pencils. Oh, she'd been selfish and greedy, and now she was so sorry. She made herself take another step forward. But then she thought, what if I'm going away from Poppy? She began to tremble, and she felt a sinking and dissolving inside her that meant she was going to cry. Her legs gave way like wet paper, and she slid down until she was sitting on the street. With her head on her knees, trembling, her mind was a wordless whirl of dread. She waited. Almost done. An endless time went by. A moan came from somewhere to the left. A door slammed closed. Footsteps started, then stopped. In Lena's mind floated the beginning of the worst question. What if the lights never... She squeezed her arms around her knees and made the question stop. Lights come back, she said to herself. Lights come back. Come back. And suddenly they did. Lena sprang up. There was the street again, people looking upward with mouths hanging open. All around, people started crying, or wailing, or grinning in relief. Then, all at once, everyone started to hurry, moving fast toward the safety of home in case this should happen again. Lena ran toward Green Gate Square, stopping everyone she passed. Did you see a little girl walk by herself just before the lights went out, she asked. Green jacket with a hood, but no one wanted to listen to her. On the Beach Street side of the square stood a few people, all talking at once and waving their arms. Lena ran up to them and asked her question. They stopped talking and stared at her. How could we have seen anyone? The lights were out, said Nanny Probst, a tiny old woman whose back was so bent that she had to twist her head sideways to look up.
Oh, gross.
Lena said, no, she wandered away before the lights went out. She got away from me. She may have come this direction. You have to keep your eye on the baby, Nanny Probst scolded. Babies need watching, said one of the women who was singing with the believers. But someone else said, oh, a toddler, green jacket? And he walked over to an open shop door and called, you have that baby in there? And through the door came someone leading Poppy by the hand. Lena dashed her and lifted her up. Poppy broke into loud wails. You're all right now, said Lena, holding her tightly. Don't worry, sweetie. You were just lost a moment. Now you're all right. I've got you. Don't worry. When she looked up to thank the person who found her, she saw a face she recognized. It was Dune. He looked the same as when she last seen him, except that his hair was shaggier. He had on the same baggy brown jacket he always wore. She was marching up the street by herself, he said. No one knew who she belonged to, so I took her into my father's shop. She belongs to me, Lena said. She's my sister. I was so afraid when she was lost. I thought she might fall and hurt herself, or be knocked over. Or, anyway, thank you so much for rescuing her. Anyone would have, said Dune. He frowned and looked down at the baby. Poppy had calmed down and was curled up against Lena's chest with her thumb in her mouth. And your job? How is it? Lena asked. Pipeworms. Dune shrugged his shoulders. All right, he said. Interesting, anyway. She waited, but it seemed that was all he was going to say. Well, thank you again, she said. She hoisted Poppy around to her back. Lucky for you, Dune Harrow was around, said Nanny Probst. You've been watching them, and with her sideways glare. He's a good-hearted boy. Anything breaks in my house, he fixes it. She hobbled after, shaking a finger at her. You better watch that baby more carefully, she called. You shouldn't leave her alone. Claire added. I know, said Lena, you're right. When she got home, she put the tired baby to bed in the bedroom they shared. Granny had been taking an afternoon nap in the front room and hadn't noticed the blackout at all. Nina told her that the lights had gone out for a few minutes, but she didn't mention anything about Poppy getting lost. Later in her bedroom, Poppy asleep, she took the two colored pencils from her pocket. They were not quite as beautiful as they had been. When she held them, she remembered the powerful wanting she had felt in that dusty store, and the feeling of it was mixed up with fear and shame and darkness. Okay. You guys will be working on your study guide questions for chapter 1 and 2. Some of you didn't finish. If you did finish, you're moving on to chapters 3, 4, and 5. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, you may go.
Okay, I'll do that then.
Oh, it's Sabi.
Just going to the back.
Yes. You are.
Can I go to the upstairs one?
Or let's have one, two.
Hurry up, don't be taking freaking 45 minutes.
Okay, everyone know what they're doing? Alright, if you need any help, ask one of us. We need to see pencils, and it's part of the center with your study guide. And you leave it. Okay. One, you can.
What? He's listening. Picking up the song. Oh. It's time.
I am taking these and grading them today, so you have an hour to work on this question.
The other one. Third.
Come on, start
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
We've been reading for about half an hour.
I will say. You just want to take mine for now.
Party wasn't.
My back and all trying to get caught up.
You can do that. So hold on to it.
Alright, come on.
I'll be listening.
No, I want it. Get back on. See that? Called maneuvering.
That's called a move.
Yes, sir.
Alright, if you guys want help with the first couple of questions, I will do that for you. So go to page 11. Oh, I guess I'm. Page 11. Question number 1. How does working as a pipeworks laborer convince Dune that the city is in the worse shape than he had suspected? Do you remember? Anyone remember? Remember he went down into the river area underground What did he think about the generator?
Well, that was my answer.
It was different. Why?
Let's see, imagine it being something else.
Yeah, but when he saw it, what was he thinking?
So you could see it working.
Yeah, it had the men that were in there in the generator room. They were just there to fix it if it broke. They were there to keep it running. So your answer could be the generator is in terrible shape. That's page 11, question number 1. We're just going to do a couple of questions to get you guys started, and then we'll keep it around. And number 2 is very similar. Why is Dune's first look at the generator disappointing to him?
It confuses him
But why?
because he thought it was different.
Different how?
He could see how it worked.
Yeah, he's disappointed because he can't see how it works. So he can't see how it works. Your answer. 2. Number 3, why is it important to Dune to be the one to save the city?
He's got that ego.
Why is it important to Dune to be the one to save the city? What do we think? Anybody else? Do you remember what the specific reason is, Miss Sabino? Do you remember what the specific reason was?
I think
Okay.
Well,
Alright, so you can use that. I'll accept that.
What you said.
It was more of an ego thing. So he wanted, because he had the ego, he thought that he could fix the city's issues.
but people like that are annoying.
Okay, so you guys will finish the rest of the questions in that section. Let's go down to the part where it says questions for discussion. When you answer those 4 questions, they really are your opinion, okay? So there's not going to be right or wrong answers. Still on page 11. So questions 1, 2, 3, and 4 under the questions for discussion, they're just your opinion. Don't have to write incomplete sentences, just write something. Then we go down to literary elements, mood. So mood is the overall atmosphere or feeling of a story, okay? So think about, as I was reading, what kind of mood was set? Was it hopeful? Was it despair? Was there impending doom? Was it just this great, happy, what?
Yes, right.
Yeah, but I was asking a question. Yes, so,
It doesn't look very.
yeah, I was trying to figure out, what the mood was, because press room is the answer.
Oh,
Depressing.
Depressing, that's good. So where it says, what mood is set by the passage? Depressing.
Where do we put that? Oh.
And then the second part, they want you to underline words in that little passage right there that create this mood. So what words in that little passage create the mood of depressing? Passage.
Where's that?
Under literary elements begins with, she began to tremble and she felt a sinking and dissolving inside her that meant she was going to cry. What are some words that relate to depression?
Sinking and dissolving.
Cry, sinking, dissolving, tremble,
Upsetting.
dread. Get back in your chair.
That's
Keep
not good.
underlining stuff.
Turn that second.
Leg down.
Sit down.
Alright, so you guys are off to somewhat of a start. You need to be working on this a good 40 minutes.
My legs are so sore.
If you need help from one of us, let us know.
Done. doing this. Buddy,
I am taking these home to grade for tomorrow, so make sure you're working. What do you need help?
Nope.
Up on the way.
Us helping.
Wait, so do we go back into the book and see
Oh, yeah,
how they're
absolutely.
described?
You can use your book for every answer. Please use your book. Put your cell phones away.
ow! Kind of boo. Come on. I can't write. Big dummy. Oh yeah, so like a whole thing. Oh, they would have matched up.
Yeah, actually.
No, it's not. Please don't make it good. Hey, you don't even have to type it, stick to speech. Literally, press a button. I'm gonna do it. Like,
Back up.
What does Clary do? Oh, no, mind.
well, what was the question?
we have to add more people to this?
No, you don't.
Okay.
No, big brain. Why it's so big? It's like I didn't big brain in there. Please don't. I have to go there. Sorry, I tried to free it. Yeah. Smoking. I skipped. 6. I don't know. The ones good point. Good point. Kill him. It's sitting there. Do it now. Thanks.
That's ours?
Yes.
Watch it. Come on.
cent.
Whoa, you did?
Hey. Buddy.
Mason, are you ready to shut down? This is your grade.
I'm helping help out.
I know, but he's not ready.
Sure am.
You are.
I do the ones that I know first, then I go back to the ones that I don't know. No.
Hey, how about it like we're trying to how about
Or I could work on other stuff.
so
Change the type.
so why don't you move over here and I will write your answer for you. Okay? Okay.
You're distracted. Yeah.
Aren't we supposed to discuss this in class?
Okay.
No, I was just wondering. Okay.
And you want some help?
Because she's on her break. Yeah. See?
Oh.
Or like, shut What was it? How do you They're good outside. What's the question? Because he appears screen.
She creates a world that both kids have.
Hardly stop. You just had a little.
She told you it's nice.
Is that the answer?
I assume so.
it?
Why does Clary?
Puppies.
Yeah, why does she go?
Yay. Jack. Well,
What? No.
what is it? Okay, that was on. Jeez. Do you have photographic memory or what? No, she just mentioned. Oh my god. She's like, oh, it's close to where we started. And it's right here. The heck? I can't even remember what I did last time. I can't. Stupid. I don't.
They did.
Because that one, it's more than that page. So they
Oh,
don't.
gee, it's only one more. Sorry.
I have, but. And my.
Which way? This way?
Thank you.
Geez, you do have a photograph. You got it. Swear. Good remembering stuff. What life is.
Um,
To show Mika what life is. I can try. What's hard? What's hard?
okay, so why didn't they have trouble finding copies after Squander's way?
Because she went back to the back of the store to go get color
So
pencils.
why couldn't she find?
Harvard. See, no life, no see. Shut up.
Okay, why don't the color pencil right?
Because she hasn't seen them in a while. She want color pencils? Yeah, no, she didn't. No, she just went in there and she was like, oh, hey, look, color pencils. I'm just gonna buy them. Big dirty. God. Thank you.
Very passionate about this
Exactly.
book, sweet.
Huh?
Very passionate.
I think he likes it. You like that book? If I like that, I would read all of it. So you like the book? I just told you if I like this book, I would. What word? The paper.
There's no right or
Okay.
What is
My dad. Yeah. Yeah, dude, he's super good at it. And with
they
the
never
best
really have to trust or
yeah.
go back to chapter 1, and you should get a physical description of Lena, Dude, and okay?
I'm using
Chapter 1.
all the way back to chapter 1. One
English
woman
is getting off pretty easy
through
with
the
this
program
book.
20.
Actually, it's really easy with this book, so we should just have those kind of this time grade. Or we chose it. So you guys are getting a participation grade today. Not me. So also have a couple of things to grade.
I'll forget.
Go back to chapter 1, get the physical description, okay?
Fernando.
Chapter 1. Are you done with your
Yeah.
Okay, you can go ahead and put your stuff.
Still have 20 minutes left to be working. If you're not done with questions, please be working. If you are done, occupy yourself with something else other than
You can kind of read it.
Sure I am done. See? Sure it is a scribble mark. Look at it.
Mason.
Get it together. I'm not doing anything.
No, I thought that was him.
Oh.
Sorry.
Hey, I'm working. Good. Oh. Wait, so do you want us to put the baskets or do you want
We haven't skipped, I'll start early. Are you stop facing just so I can?
Yeah, boy. Yeah,
Whoa.
Be like, sorry. So, don't worry.
Yeah.